Have you ever planned for your writing project? And if you did, do you find yourself having a very difficult time to follow through? Either life gets in the way that you couldn't find the time to write consistently, or the inspiration is getting in the way, meaning when you do have the time to sit down to write, you just don't find yourself inspired, so you couldn't get many words onto the paper, and in the end, you are falling behind on your schedule and constantly playing catch up, and eventually you feel lose hope on the plan and then give up. If this was your experience, I believe this video can help you. Getting things done is about having a plan, execution, as well as being flexible. To me, when it comes to a writing plan, there's two different kinds. One is a plan for the time, another is a plan for the deadline. I don't always set a deadline for myself when it comes to writing, and I'll tell you why a little bit later. But in this September, I've self-imposed a deadline for the writing project that I'm working on, and I will share with you this very exciting plan in today's video, as well as share with you when I think a plan should go with the flow and when I think a plan should use some discipline. Before I start the video, if you are new here, hi, my name is Nani. I'm a writer, director based in Los Angeles, and if you are interested in checking out my work or my first feature film, I will leave a link in the description down below. Okay, let's get into the video. Before I share the detail of the plan with you, here is how the plan came about. If you watched my last vlog, which I filmed about 3 weeks ago, I had a very good writing session. Basically, I worked on the beginning section of the screenplay once again, and it's a problem has been bothering me for a long time, and it went really well. I came up with a solution, and the next day I reread what I wrote, and it still felt really inspiring, and it really got me want to keep going, and it led me into a writing flow. I've also spent almost a year to work on this project by doing research, character development, as well as study for the topics that I'm working on, outlining and drafting for the screenplay. I really felt I've done enough prep work and I'm completely ready to get everything onto the page. I've been feeling ready for a while now, and I've tried to write outside my full-time job here and there. So I spent the time at work, and when I came home, I tried to write. That didn't work very well for me. 2 reasons. It's always felt take a long period of time for me to reset my mind from my full-time job mode to my writing mode. I still can write, it's just I don't have much time left to write each day. And the second, because of this, I can't immerse my mind in the story world for a long period of time, which is something I really need and I really enjoy. I like the feeling of when I'm only working on my writing for an extensive period of time and I don't do anything else. That's when I start feel my world and the story world start merge together. For example, when I'm walking on the street, I would see things and see people that inspire me to kind of use them for the story. It's much easier for me to be more observant, and I will easily pick up things people do or people say and then use them into the story, and I enjoy doing that. But every day when I'm coming in and out of the story, it's really hard for me to get into that position. So I made a decision. I applied entire week off in September, more specifically the 3rd week of September. So during that week, I will not take on any obligations or work on any other projects except using all the waking hours to write. I call this self-imposed deadline binge writing. It might sound a little bit overwhelming and crazy and maybe too big of appetite, but I've done that before and I know it worked for me. In fact, that's how I finished my late draft of my first feature film. Of course, there will be draft polishing process later, but what I meant is to first put everything down onto the paper as a project. But why am I choosing to do this right now? What if I can't follow through and then start beating myself up over not able to follow through a plan? So before I get into explain why I felt ready to do this and then when I think I shouldn't do this, I'm going to share with you the plan a little bit. I'm using my Hobonichi Weeks planner right now. Basically, I went ahead, blocked out 15th of September through the 21th of September. And in those days, I will not go to my full-time job. So I will not write on the 15th. That's the day that I will mentally get ready for the writing, for the binge writing. And then that day, I call it resting day. This stamp in Chinese means rest. So that day I will dedicate for resting. I'm planning using that day to do some journaling and reading, kind of help my mind ease from my day job into my writing. Before that, basically, I will spend the first 2 weeks of September to get ready in terms of transition my physical notes into Notion. Why I want to do this transfer, the main goal is not kind of copy-paste the notes. The main goal is to familiarize all the notes, all the character development, all the structures, all the theme in the story. So in that way, I can have a full picture of the story refreshing before I'm going to my binge writing week. Also, I want to get everything else out of the way, so I'm planning on making 4 videos in the first 2 weeks of September. In that way, during the writing week, I don't have to worry about editing video, nor worry about filming video for the next week. The red lines you see here on my planner are the time that I work at my day job, and then the rest of the days that doesn't have the red line means those are the days I will be stay at home, and then there will be different events or tasks that's going on during those time. If you see shorter red line, that means maybe that day I'm only work half of the times. That's how I use my current planner. So at one glance, I can have a basic understanding of which day I might have to work at my full-time job, as well as do some YouTube work, or which of the days I'm focused on YouTube and writing, and then which of the day I'm completely dedicated to reading, journaling, and resting. So in this way, I'll have 6 full days to finish the entire draft. That means I have to write about 12 to 20 pages a day. If you've watched my channel for a while, you're probably going to recall I mentioned on this channel many times before that I don't like a specific page count as a goal for each day's writing, because I find that's causing a lot of pressure. It's much harder to follow through, and it takes the joy out of the writing. So now I'm going to answering the question, why am I doing this binge writing, and in what condition that I will do this kind of binge writing. I've mentioned it in the beginning, for the majority of the time, I don't like to set a deadline for myself when it comes to writing. I'm more plan for the time, which means I plan how long am I going to write each day, and I don't care how much I accomplish during that time, as long as that time is completely protected time and dedicated to writing. Sometimes I would assign myself to solve certain problems or research certain things for the story during that time, but those are more specific problem targeted plan. It's very small and it's very actionable. That's how I'm able to make myself sit down to do the writing for that day. But if the plan is something very vague, big, and out of control, it's very likely I'm going to procrastinate. For example, if my plan is I'm going to sit down to write 10 pages today, I probably will have a hard time to start writing. And if I'm able to start writing, I'm probably more likely to feel less inspired, because it's hard to predict where my mindset is at the moment of writing. It's raining right now. Okay, I'm completely get distracted because it's a start raining outside. I'm so happy. So when it comes to plan for writing, I plan for the time and also assign a specific assignment for that period. And I always keep in mind to be flexible, meaning if I couldn't find a solution to the problem that I trying to solve that day, and then that's totally okay. I'll assign that problem to the next day to try it again. That's how I was able to maintain the consistency and write daily. So if I plan for the deadline, that's require me to do a binge writing or to meet a page count each day. There are lots of factors have to be met at the same time in order for me to make that decision. I'm going to list out all the factors. Remember, they have to be met at the same time. It's and, not or. Number 1, when I have done pretty decent prep work and I know I'm ready. Number 2, when I carve out a space, a physical space, a time space, and most importantly, a mental space for me to do this binge writing plan. That means I have to set myself up for success by taking care of my mind and have a very clear head during that period of binge writing. If I think anything might get into my way of doing that, I would not plan this way, because the last thing I want is something happen and get into my way, get into a mental downward spiral about my writing. Number 3, have a very clear plan. How am I going to do it? Where am I going to do it, and during what time I'm going to do it, and then communicate with everyone around me, that's including co-workers as well as family and close friends. I've also canceled my appointments. I've also canceled my therapy appointment, and I'm planning during that period of time my phone will be on do not disturb mode. Number 4, I have no expectation over this is going to be the best draft ever. I won't have that kind of mindset, and I'll constantly remind myself to not having that kind of expectation. The goal here is to put everything onto the paper and then doing polish later, or even rethink and change about the structure once again. It's not about to write something perfect. That being said, number 5, being flexible, knowing that things might still not going the way that I planned it, and this is just a process and an experiment. The worst case scenario, I can try it again next month. And then number 6, having enough time to rest well and then get ready for the binge writing. I would not making a plan saying, hey, I'm going to start my binge writing tomorrow. I planned this 2 weeks ago, and I still have another 2 weeks to get ready for the plan, and I've been working towards it. I have 2 weeks to reorganize my notes, refamiliarize with them, as well as mentally taking care of myself, relax, and a kind of setting boundary between me and my full-time job mentally, so that I can get into a very good mental space for the binge writing. So do not make that last minute decision, because you're more likely to not follow through. So those are the 6 criteria that has to be met at the same time in order for me to decide to do a binge writing and have a self-imposed deadline. I hope this video gave you a little bit idea of understanding where you at mentally and plan accordingly. Either plan for the time or plan for a deadline. In this way, it's more likely for you to enjoy the writing process as well as follow through the plan. Thank you so much for watching, and if you do think this video is helpful, remember to leave a comment down below, or leave a thumbs up, or subscribe to the channel to help me build this community. And if you enjoyed this video, you might also like this one right here. And thank you so much for watching. Be patient, be present, stay creative. I'll see you next week. Bye. Pew.